Welcome, one and all, and to two old guys in their 50s and 60s talking about the 70s and 80s. And joining me again, as always, my buddy Al. Say hello, Al.
Hello, Al.
Reminiscent of George Burns and Gracie Allen. Gotta love it. Anyway, and beyond. So, folks, tonight, I'll wait a little bit till everybody populates this place. But
I see Jim Bashir's out there.
Jim, I see Jim out there. Good evening, Jim.
Or as Frenzy calls him, drive-by.
Really?
Yeah, drive-by.
Yeah, Dave Gatton was calling him Poot for some reason, and I just got used to calling him Poot, so I always call him Poot. I don't know why. No clue. But anyway, so folks, tonight we're going to talk arcade games. I'm really looking forward to tonight, because tonight is as always, whenever we talk arcade games or something of that sort, it's a long one, because there's a lot of arcade games that everybody's from our age is not only quite familiar with, but yeah, very, very
memories.
It's ingrained in our. Good evening, Al. The other Al. Al.
Hello, Al. Hello, other Al.
And then yeah, it's deeply ingrained, because whereas kids today, I guess YouTube and streaming is what they're going to remember, assuming, as Moore's Law holds, something different happens in the future. We remember pretty much we're the TV generation and we are the arcade generation, and generation of many other things too, but those two are probably the ones that are most ingrained and molding of us in our lives. Good evening, Andrew. So we'll start start right off with we're going to go in chronological order. Found a list of arcade specific games. I mean, these are cabinet games.
Yeah,
we'll get into
popular games.
Yeah, we'll get into Sega and all that stuff, and we'll get into and we'll reminisce about Pong, because Pong is obviously for most of us, Pong was pretty much one of if not the first true video game. But we're not going to talk so much the home console. We're going to talk arcades. So we'll begin with the first one on the list, and I guess I thought it was old, but I didn't realize it was first. Is Space Invaders.
Space Invaders
from 1978. Yeah, we all know Space Invaders.
I played lots of Space Invaders.
That's a fantastic game from Midway, and same thing with the next year was Galaxian. Galaxian was a big one.
That was my favorite, actually.
So Andrew says Space Invaders was the first arcade game he saw in England, and yep, that's Jim Bashir says the Godzilla generation. That's an interesting one, but yeah, Space Invaders was probably one of the first I played, and but Galaxian is another.
My favorite.
It was supposed to compete with Space Invaders. But
I think it was more.
But it's also made by Midway, so
it had more options. It was a little more graphical, it seemed to me.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Space Invaders was just basically a bunch of pixels going down, and later they got fancier. But Lunar Lander's next on the list in '79. Lunar Lander, Asteroids, and Battlezone all came out in the late '70s and. From Atari, and Lunar Lander. If you remember, Lunar Lander is you basically were you had a rocket ship that was landing, and you had to decide the position and the thrust, how much thrust to do, so it would land, and it had to land under 10 miles an hour or however much it was. And
It was
you
it
know,
was actually the first coin-op use of vectors that Atari did.
yep, yep. And then there was Asteroids again, extremely vector. When I think vector games, pretty much those two are the ones that come to mind. And
Yeah.
and Poot's brain was melted by Asteroids, so that's going to be interesting.
With
And
Asteroids, when you got the high score, you were able to enter your initials. Oh my God, that was the best
fantastic.
thing when you
Absolutely.
could put your initials
Oh
in
yeah.
there.
The high scores.
You
Oh,
see the high
it's
score?
incredible. First time
Yeah.
you were ever entered a high score. Jeff Stewart has said he played Space Invaders at a retro arcade just last weekend. It was still fun. Yeah, we
It
were
is
talking
fun.
about that.
It is lots of fun.
We were talking about that recently because both Al and I have made our console games. In fact, here's the heart of it right here, folks. Is my little? I've got to take it apart. But my
Same as
little
mine. Yeah.
my little Retro Pi holds every single imaginable game
Amazing.
that ever was, as long as you own the realms. And I'll tell you, playing those games, I was telling Al the other day, it wasn't the same. It wasn't the same. You get, we're older now. It's not new. It's not fresh. It's not, for me anyways, while it is as fun and probably more so because of the nostalgia, I mean, it's not as addictive.
It's because there's so much more in cinema graphics and boom and and interaction now that those games seem like flat. And I guess that's a good way to put it, flat.
Jim had Lunar Lander on a bowling alley on his on his base, on the base, and I remember Lunar Lander on I remember Asteroids on a bowling alley and stuff. Good evening, Ryan. Good to see you. And moving on, Battlezone. I never played much of Battlezone.
With the tank?
That's the tank game. Yep. Battlezone was the one with the tank game, and it's basically, again, a vector graphics game. We're talking early graphics game. Berserk was one where it was an early use of speech synthesis, but it wasn't a very popular game. This next one was a popular game. Yes, Brian, tonight's subject is arcade games. Missile Command is we're going in alphabetical. We're going in chronological order right now of arcade cabinet games. Missile Command was fantastic. It was the first game that used Centipede. Missile Command was the first game that used the rollerball.
Yeah, it was influenced a lot by the Cold War during that time, and I remember a movie that had something to do with Missile Command, and I'm trying to remember what it was called.
Well, I'm pretty sure that War Games played Missile Command in War Games.
You got it. That's the one. That's the one. I mean, so
I'm pretty sure Broderick played. I'm pretty sure he did. I'm not sure.
I
Not
think
100%, but I'm pretty sure. And if not, well, no, I was going to say Tron, but Tron has a bunch of the old ones. But
no, it was
pushing Tron, it was mostly their games. Then, of course, hey, everybody's one of the most, if the not most popular game, PacMan. PacMan 1980 by Midway. Yeah, waka 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 with Winky, Blinky, Pinky, and Nod. I mean, I love that song. I mean, I love that, in between, after the second, I believe it's the second level that you pass, you get the wonderful chasing and the animation and stuff. It's just, that game was fantastic in its day. And then I was a big fan of and this will come up on the list, Super Pac-Man. I like that more.
Pac-Man.
Everybody else liked Miss Pac-Man. A lot of people are crazy about Miss Pac-Man. For me, it was Super Pac-Man. I just loved having that super speed. And if you plan it right, all the moves, you can I was a wizard. There were some games that all of us, in fact, I was talking about about these games to my daughter the other day. In fact, I think it was today or yesterday. The other day, there was a time where whatever repetitive function, whether it's playing a game or what was it? I'm trying. I don't know why latch hook came to mind. There was a time where I was hospitalized, with a broken finger, and I had to do something. My mom bought me a latch hook kit, and for a while there, I was like a master at that. I could knock out a rug in an hour, and these things are like one by one. And whether it's latch hook or whether it's on the construction site tying wire ties on rebars, there are certain repetitive tasks that when I did in my youth, I could fly through them. Like today's kids, the way they type on a phone is almost mind-boggling.
Yeah.
And the video games that we played were that way. In fact, the video games that they play now are that way. I look and my reflexes are fast, but we've slowed down considerably. You know what it would take to get as good as we were when we wouldn't be able to do it as good as we were as kids with the muscle memory. And Super PacMan reminded me of that because I had muscle memory and Robotron, the same thing. I had a muscle memory where I could instinctively move with the joysticks. I mean, we're talking probably the first 20 or 30 levels. Wouldn't even think about them. Whereas now I'll get to 3 levels and I'll lose 3 guys. It's in fact, Jim said it. Just it's delayed over here. Muscle memory is it?
Yeah, muscle memory.
Yep. Let's see. Bought a Super Sprint cabinet last year. I'm not sure what it is, but if it's anything like what we made, then yeah. That's probably it. So yeah, Super PacMan was the one that had no, Super PacMan was just another version of Pac-Man. It was just the Pac-Man would become huge, and the center of it is where you navigated, but the whole thing, it would just it was super fast. It would gain speed that you could actually do the whole board if you were precise enough. And while you turn blue, you could eat everything. Well, anyway, moving on.
A Super Sprint is a 3-player upright driving game. It's a sequel to the early Sprint 2, the game where you pick up wrenches to improve your car and stuff, and you can upgrade the original 19 to a 32-inch LCD. See, now you can have LCDs in it. So
Phoenix is the next one. Phoenix is an arcade game that's it's a shooter arcade game. But you shoot with the again, Rally X, Star Castle, Wizard of War. I'm going to go through a lot of these that if you guys feel free to stop me if you guys have played or remember any of these fondly, but most of these are they're fly by night. They were in rare pizza places or arcade games.
I probably have played them. But
exactly. Star Castle, Wizard of War, War spelled WOR, Centipede. There's a good one. Centipede. Now, Centipede
classic
had the roller ball. Yeah, it was fantastic. Centipede was another one, and then of course, same year as Centipede. Centipede was from Atari. Then William Electronics came out with their first game.
Defender.
Oh, Defender. Save the people. You would fly that ship at incredible speeds and you just it's great. Now, here's one that I was very fond of and I liked it. I liked it quite a bit. Another vector game, folks. Another vector game, Tempest from Atari. It seems that Atari has all the old vector games, Battlezone and Asteroids and stuff. Well, Tempest was interesting. It had you had a think of it like an octagon or a whatever, as many sides as you have. Basically, you have an octagon, and then it added more and more sides, and you had a ship which would balance on the edge of it. Meanwhile, up the rails of this long, I want to say cylindrical, but it's not. The other ships would come and shooting. So you had to either shoot the shots or shoot the ships and avoid them. So it would use the wheel. It was one of the first to use the wheel.
You're talking about Quicks?
I'm talking about Tempest.
Tempest. Okay.
It had the same wheel, the rolling wheel that Arkanoid had. You know that wheel?
And actually,
it's a knob that you turn and left and right.
And actually, Tempest was one of the first ones that used color vector displays.
Yes.
So they're starting to move on to the lines, and that really made it really realistic. It was where they started to shine.
Absolutely. Tempest was fantastic. I mean, I really love Tempest. I remember it was one of the ones at the Pizza Galleons, and then of course, 81 Nintendo Donkey Kong. Da 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 da. Boom, 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 boom.
Donkey Kong was another classic. I played lots of Donkey Kong.
And here's the funny thing. I didn't.
Really?
I didn't. I played a lot of it, bum, 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 but I played quite a bit of it, but not enough. A lot of my friends would blow me out of the water with high scores and everything, and they were really, really crazy about the game. Me, I was into the other game. My at the time, I was Robotron and Zaxxon were my, for some reason or another. There's always 3 or 4 at the bowling alley, and Donkey Kong wasn't my favorite. I'm one of those weirdos and stuff. So let's see, who do we got? Jeffrey saying Tempest was the first that looked 3D. Yeah, absolutely, because it was like Asteroids, but 3D ish.
Asteroids on steroids.
Yep. Mitchell was a Tetris player, and then so the next one on the list, Frogger. Wacka, wacka, wacka. Yeah.
There's another one that I played a lot.
Frogger I played a lot, but strangely enough, Frogger I played a lot of later on those portable games.
I played it on the Commodore 64.
I did play it, and because we are focusing, for those of you that came in late, we are focusing first part of the show is focusing all on arcade cabinets. But those home versions of Frogger I did play and stuff.
See, that's the beauty, though. That's what started to happen. They had these machines out there in the arcades, and then they started making home units for things, and that's how the arcades went away, and the home games started playing them.
Absolutely. Yeah, because at first,
look at it now,
the Atari 2600 and Nintendo. At first, they didn't hold a candle to the technology of the arcade games, to most of the arcade games. Some of them, obviously, like Asteroids, they could. But even so, those computer games, home games, it would take a while before they reached the level where they could surpass it. Now, like I said, now I've got them all. I've got over 86,000 games all on one chip. It's crazy.
On something that you can carry, kind of
something you carry just like that. Yeah. Scramble is another one. I don't remember Scramble at all. It's another one of those. Yeah, it's a scrolling shooter game. Galaga.
It was the first scrolling shooter game.
Yeah.
It featured forced horizontal scrolling motion. So I guess this way, right?
Yeah.
This is vertical, right?
No, horizontal. Horizontal goes across this way.
Really, it was the first one. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, well, Defender came out before it, so but it was, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what they mean by scrolling shooter game, but Galaga is one that I definitely remember. Galaga was absolutely fantastic. Galaga, it's so funny because I hear Galaga and I hear Centipede, and all my life I've confused the two. I know Galaga is the flying shooting game, and Centipede obviously is it's a centipede with the mushrooms and stuff. But I always get them confused. Gorf is one. No clue.
I remember the name.
Yeah. Again, Galactic Orbiting Robot Force. Gorf. Well, Miss Pac-Man. We mentioned it before. It's also most of these are 1981 games, folks. 1981 is Miss Pac-Man. Quicks. Never heard of Quicks.
Yeah, Quicks is the one that kind of had a ball, I'm pretty certain, and it kind of came up like this in the video, and it like a spider in my mind, but it wasn't. It was
okay. Okay. It's it Kicks. It's called it's QIX, and it's the objective is to fence off a supermajority of the play area, unique gameplay that didn't involve shooting mazes. So I imagine it's kind of like Snake. You remember the game Snake that you play? That there's basically one thing and you control whether it goes up or down. Maybe that's, I don't know. Here's one that I enjoyed. Vanguard. Vanguard was a great game. Vanguard, similar to Zaxxon in play, but it was
and it would allow you to go in multiple directions.
Yep. So again, Burger Time. A lot of people love that game. I never played it. Burger Time.
I remember playing it.
I never played Burger Time. Now, I do remember the next one. Dig Dug. Folks, I played many hours of Dig Dug. I don't know why. It wasn't a particularly...
The challenge.
I think it was because it was... and this happened a lot. Okay, tell me if I'm wrong, guys, if a lot of you guys have the same experience. The arcade games that were available. I mean, obviously you could go to the arcade place, but a lot of us played arcade games at the local pizzeria shop or the local restaurant or folks younger than me, like my brother. I was in high school driving when arcades were coming out. I was 16 years old in 1981. So, but my brother and stuff were younger, so they also played arcade games, but they saw them whenever they were driven to the arcade game. And a lot of these games were games that just happened to be the one in the arcade. Dig Dug was one of those. Dig Dug was fun to drop rocks at the dragons. Yeah, I love
it. Was a maze. Yeah,
I love dropping the rocks at the dragon. And then, good evening, Paul. Good to see you. Good to see you.
It was addictive too, very addictive, because you wanted to get that last diamond, or you wanted to get, the thing to drop down and blow everything up. But
yeah, Jim said Galaga or Galaxian. Yeah, because we mentioned Galaxian and Galaga and Galaxian. Those are the two that I always used to mix up. I'm sorry, not Centipede. Centipede, and there was another one like Centipede that I also mixed up. I forgot what it was. What was the other one? Maybe it was just a different version of Centipede. But anyway, they got you. Al brings a good point. They got you hooked up in the arcade, and they switched the home industry. Yeah, for game. They switched the whole. Sorry, I got to remember to speak because this will come out on audio podcast. So people are hearing me ramble as I'm reading the comments. Al brings up a good point. They got you hooked in the arcade, then switched the whole industry to home game machines. And yeah, they did. They did. Although the technology wasn't the best, it was absolutely. Sit-down cabinets at Pizza Hut. were always awkward to me. I'm with you, Al. I mean, I I I can't stand bending over a table to play a game. I mean, it had to be in my face, standing up. You know, even when I was at pizza, when I was in at Charlie's Pizza, was a big hangout, and when I was young with my high school buddies, and it was fantastic. It was always, you know, I wolf down my pizza, you know, or my friends would be chatting and then I go out and play. And it was a great feeling, Mitchell. Like Mitchell says, it was a great feeling to have your initials in the top player screens. Always. All right. So the next batch is Donkey Kong Jr.
Another spinoff.
Yeah, like Donkey Kong. I didn't play much of Donkey Kong Jr., you know. But Jeff Stewart said he loved Qbert. Qbert was his favorite. Yep, we'll be getting to that in time. Oh, here we go. Well, Frontline. I didn't play Frontline. I don't know if you guys. It's a commando infantry style game. Joust, folks. Joust.
Oh, yeah. Joust was cool.
Wow. I can't imitate that name, but it was so cool. You know, when you have them come out. When they
you were on birds, right? Flying.
You were on griffins.
Ostriches?
Yeah, ostriches flying, and when they drop an egg, they would create another man, you know, and every now and then, unless you capture the egg, and then you get more points and stuff, and Space Ace and Dragon's Lair is what Paul Stewart played. I don't remember any of those.
Dragon's Lair was had Dirk Pitt. I think it was the first. I think it was the first CD or laser disc based game. You could basically be playing it, and you would do something, and the scene would change over to something else.
Atari console in 79 or 80. Yeah, actually, I mean, Jim, I'm telling you, this get yourself one of these is fantastic. And load RetroPie. It's fantastic. I mean, I've got all the old Atari games. Let's see here. Jungle King. Again, blank. Kangaroo. Drawing a blank. We've moved into 1982, folks. Moon Patrol. Pengo. I seem to remember Pengo. It was like a maze game of some sort with penguins. But again, Pole Position. We did play Pole Position. Yep. Pole Position was a good one. Popeye, again. And then, of course, like Jeffrey's favorite, Qbert.
Qbert was excellent.
Qbert was and the best part about Qbert, and we all remember this. I mean, those of us who played it remembered it. When Qbert fell, what happened, Al? When Qbert would fall off the side.
He fell.
Yeah, okay. They had a solenoid rigged in the game, in the Qbert games, when
you would feel it, right?
You would feel it. You would hear, you know, bank, and the thing, the cabinet would knock.
Yeah.
Because the solenoid would actually hit the side of the cabinet on the bottom. That was Qbert. And then he had some weird language and stuff. It was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
Behind Pac-Man and Donkey Kong, Qbert was the most merchandised arcade game of all time. Behind Pac-Man and Donkey Kong. It was like the third.
Incredible. Mitchell's spouse had had his Atari packed in the basement. Not sure if it still works. Well, I hope it does, because
hope for those capacitors to be good.
Yeah, well, if not, replace them. First Laserdisc game, Jim programmed a Radio Shack TRS-80 computer basic when he was in the Air Force in 78.
Now he didn't say TRS-80. He just said TRS.
Sorry, yeah. TRS-80 rolls off my tongue because it's second nature to me. You know, being an employee of a past employee of Radio Shack, it was one of my first jobs. Demo on the computer. He wanted one of those so bad. Yep. That's fantastic. All right, so then let's see what we got here. We got next one is my favorite, folks. 1982, Williams Electronics. They made Defender. They also made Robotron. Robotron 2084. I love Robotron. I actually started playing it again with the new thing when I had the console all built up, and it took me a longer time than the other games to get tired of it. I'll just say that. So Robotron is still my favorite. It's a blast because you got the two joysticks. One shoots in whatever direction you point, the other one moves the man, and you got to save the people, and you got to shoot everything else.
Yeah,
and it gets pretty jam packed when you know. But anyway, Time Pilot, no clue. Time travel themed aerial combat game with free roaming gameplay. Okay, here's
airspace that scrolls infinitely in all directions.
Here's another one of my favorites. One of my favorites, and
Tron?
that is Tron. Tron is another one of my all-time favorite. Earned
more than the film it was based on.
Yep.
Gameplay consists of 4 subgames.
Yep. The subgames is the spiders going up the cylinder, the MCP, the wall. It's kind of like an Arkanoid game. Going up like an Arkanoid program. You got the spiders. You got the tank game. And you had the light cycles.
Mm-hmm.
And
the light cycles were the coolest.
Yeah. And that was fantastic. That was absolutely fantastic. I loved that. And it was over and over and over. It's the same stuff, but they just it got more harder and harder. And I loved it. I got into Tron so much. My parents and I would go to Disney World every now and then. And they had a Tron game at Disney World. And I would sit and, you know, my mom and dad would be either having breakfast at the this was at the we're talking Fort Wilderness. In the Fort Wilderness, forgot what the name of the place is called, but where you eat.
at the dining hall?
The dining hall. Thank you. At the Fort Wilderness, at the main dining hall, whatever they had back in the day. They don't have them anymore, but back in the day, they had the whole second layer was filled with arcade games. And I mean, luckily there weren't that many people there when we went because I didn't have to, you know, be polite and take my turn. I was on that game. I must have had $10 in quarters, and they would last me hours. I mean, you know, and there were times that we went to Disney, and we had the annual pass, so we'd go into Disney every now and then, but we'd spend 2 weeks at a time there, and one full week and maybe a week and a half was just hanging out at Fort Wilderness because it was just a great campsite, and I spent most of my time. Forget about the outdoors, which I now love more than anything else. I was stuck in front of that darn game.
Did you actually put quarters in it, or did you use tokens? A lot of arcade places would let you buy 20 tokens for $10.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Walt Disney World. What do you think they would choose?
Tokens.
No, you got to get 5 tokens for $1. But if you change quarters, you get 4. They make more money. It's like,
yeah.
We're talking Disney here. This is quality, magical entertainment at a price.
I never understood the tokens. Well, why don't you just take a quarter and not have to go buy tokens and, you know, refill tokens?
Well, 2 reasons for tokens. 2 reasons. Number one is, it's the thing is, I mean, it's basically like, I mean, this is coming from a guy who I got
a token right here.
Yeah, there you go. I'm into all the carny stuff. So I could tell you all about these background smooth moves that they do. That's an interesting. Yeah, I see that. So the tokens, you could have more of them for $1, so people would be more enticed to buy them. And the thing is, when you're more enticed to buy them, you don't pay attention to how much you're spending. You feel like you're getting a deal, so you end up spending more money. Half the time, you end up with token. You buy $20 worth of tokens because it's such a great deal, and you end up with half of them going home in your pocket. And how many of us have had a big coin jar with a bunch of tokens from places that have closed down? I know I have. That's interesting. Yes,
I still have coins that are that way in a big old jar.
Gravatar, not popular. I don't know. Let's see. Time Pilot again. I don't know these. Xevious. Again, don't know it. Zaxxon. Again, that was one of the ones that was
the first game to employ isometric axonometric projection, whatever the heck that is.
That means basically it was actually projecting. It was three-dimensional.
Oh, why didn't they just say three-dimensional?
Yeah, well, it was not unlike Tempest, but Tempest used sort of a vector type of three-dimension. This one, and let me tell you, Zaxxon was a difficult game because you're displaying a three-dimensional map on a two-dimensional screen. So sometimes you don't know, you had to have on the left and the right side, you would have an altitude marker to know where your plane was, how high your plane was, because you're basically cruising through an area. You got to shoot some planes, you got to bomb some oil refineries and things like that. And that was the plot of the game. But it was difficult because sometimes you have these walls and they only have one little slit in them, and sometimes it's in the middle, and you have to actually gauge how many times have I smashed into that wall because of lack of depth perception. That was a tough game. Game.
That's one of the hard things is the depth perception.
Yeah. Jim says 2 full weeks at Disney now is a refi on the house. You're about right. We're actually going to be going there. I haven't gone there in ages. And by the way, that 2-player karate game that Paul is asking about is oh my God, my mind drew a blank. It's
Street Fighter?
Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter. Yes. Yeah. Both of them. Yes. Street Fighter is the game you're thinking of. And then there's Jim popped in with Mortal Kombat. So yeah, the Kung Fu, I don't remember that one. So I'm telling you, I was saying that I may be going up to Disney in a month or two, and it's $105 at this time for 1 day ticket. I mean, I don't want to say they're out of their minds because, obviously it's Disney and it's jam-packed. If there was no demand, they wouldn't be that high of a price. But even so, it's a shame because I'm a Disneyite. I used to go to Disney. I'm not kidding. 6 to 12 times a year. 6 to 12 times a year. I used to go every other month to every month between the ages of 16. By the time I learned to drive, all my friends, and I would go with my friends every time, stay at one of the Disney resorts, or sometimes I'd stay at the Econo Lodges if, to save some bucks. But we'd always eat at Disney. So in the end, they got our money. And we bought annual pass. We bought it when it was the 4 Seasons pass. Then it was the seasonal pass. Then it was the annual pass. I didn't mind paying $175 for an annual pass. Now I can't even tell you what the price is, but it's not $175. I'll tell you that much. And I went there quite often. I mean, I was young. I didn't have a family. It was fantastic. It was my home away from home, 4 hours away. and I'm looking forward to seeing it. I haven't seen it. I haven't been there in, I want to say 10 years.
Yeah,
I mean, it's still
changed.
It hasn't changed. I mean,
it's
only changed. Oh, okay, it hasn't
they,
changed except for one or two couple of things that I was really upset when they took The Making of Me. And again, folks, as usual, here we have our segue. So this is our segue away from arcade games. Disney World's one thing that the Commander, oh, what's it called? Cranium Command was one of my favorites. Cranium Command was with I think it was with Robin Williams. Yeah, it was Cranium Command, and the other one that I loved was The Making of Me with Martin Short, and you may be able to pull them up on YouTube. They probably have some lying around somewhere and stuff, but it's not the same. To be able to be inside a person, left brain and right brain. Charles Grodin was left brain, and Jim,
Carrey?
No, Belushi.
Oh, Belushi.
Jim Belushi. I think it was Jim Belushi. I'm almost certain. That's
sure.
what comes to mind.
Sure
Was the right brain? What?
Sure, it wasn't John.
No, it wasn't John Belushi. No, definitely not. It was, but that was just
on Cranium Command.
Cranium Command. Who was right brain? Well, anyway,
yeah.
Okay, Karate Champ. That was the one that Paul Stewart was looking for the name. Karate Champ. All right, so let's continue because we got
no. Right brain was John Lovitz.
John Lovitz. That's it.
That's the ticket. That's the ticket.
My mind was going. Yeah, of course not Jim Belushi. John Lovitz. Oh my God. Yeah. Morgan Fairchild.
Yeah. That's the ticket.
Let me breeze through a bunch of these. Crystal Castles, not a champion baseball. I don't remember any of these. Dragon's Lair, that was the Laserdisc game. Elevator Action, Gyrus, Mappy, Mario Brothers.
Mario Brothers was
classic.
It took off in its own way. Talk about classic
over
arcade
and over and over.
games.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Super Mario Brothers, Super Mario. Mario Karts. I mean, all sorts of different Marios.
And this is all now. This is about the time I graduated high school. These next ones, 1983, Sinister Spy Hunter. I remember Star Trek Strategic Operations Simulator.
Who could forget?
Now, see, we remember it. I bet you half the audience
6 different enemies. 40 different simulation levels.
Oh, it was fantastic.
It featured Spock's voice. Scotty's voice,
and another one that I was very fond of, Star Wars.
Yep,
Star Wars, where you were. I mean, you were basically fighting a TIE fighter. It was it was vector graphics. Again,
it also had sampled actors' voices in it too.
Yep,
it made it come out that much richer.
Yep. Atari. When you're talking vector graphics, you're talking Atari. Every single one of these was Atari. The vector graphics ones. Tapper, Track and Field, 1942. Karate Champ, which we mentioned earlier. Kung Fu Master, Paperboy, 1984, and
Paperboy was something else.
Last but not least of the arcade games of that era was Punch Out.
Boxing fighting game.
Yeah, it was a boxing fighting game. Yeah, and now let's continue our chat, folks. How many of the non-arcade games or arcade games later? Because I remember one really good one.
How about one that's not on this list?
Listen to this and see if you remember what this was. Now, pardon my singing. Pardon my lack of digital sound effects, but bum 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 bum. Does it sound familiar at all? It's kind of tough because Gauntlet.
Oh, Gauntlet! Yes.
Dun 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 dun.
What I like is
Gauntlet. For me, Gauntlet was fantastic because Okay, here's why Gauntlet was fantastic for me. First of all, it was fantastic for whoever bought this ridiculously expensive arcade cabinet machine because it was ridiculously expensive, but it was a money maker. I would go with my friends to the bowling alley. Now, this is Don Carter's bowling alley, back when bowling alleys were all the rage, and I know there still are in some places, but now there was a group of 6 or 7 of us. We'd be waiting for our lane. It's an hour and a half wait. Okay, let's go to the arcade section of the bowling alley. Oh, no one's on the Gauntlet game. 4 of us go in there, 2 quarters each. 2 quarters, 50 cents each. 4 positions. You know, one's the elf, one's this, one's that, one's that. Okay, we play. Bum, 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 bum. We play. Someone gets killed and loses all their lives. They've got a number of seconds to put another quarter in to continue their game.
And string you along.
And even after they finish, even after they don't want to play anymore, another guy could come in, put a quarter in, and start playing with the rest of them. So regardless, this game never stopped eating quarters from us. We came in with 20 or 40 bucks of quarters in our pocket, knowing with Gauntlet, especially in the beginning, because we weren't, very good, we'd be feeding the beast. That was my joyous experience. And joyous because it was my parents' money, but charge. What the heck is that? I hope that's not a copyrighted sound, because all right, Duke Nukem. What is that?
Come on, stop.
Mute. I'm going to mute you until you finish there.
Well, it's better than crickets.
Yeah, absolutely. But anyway, that was fantastic. Gauntlet was an absolutely fantastic game. Duke Nukem. Jim brings up.
I like it. I like it. The way he wrote it.
Duke Nukem. Duke. Yeah, he corrected his spelling. But anyway, Duke Nukem was that one, and Duke. I still remember the guy's face in Duke Nukem. I still remember his ugly, big muscle face.
Do you remember his expression? What he used to say?
It was a big Russian guy. I don't know.
He used to say, I'm here to do 2 things: kick butt and chew bubblegum, and I'm all out of
bubblegum. Yep. And the other one I used to play, Jim, and let me know if you remember this one, is along those lines, Castle Wolfenstein.
Oh yeah,
Wolfenstein.
I'm playing Castle Wolfenstein 2, the new Colossus right now, and building the Ausmerzer from that game.
Interesting.
Pretty darn hard.
Yeah. I'm telling you. Yeah, I used to love Castle Wolfenstein. I used to love Duke Nukem. I mean, there were a lot of games. There are a lot of video games that came out. Well, I don't want to get too much into. Yeah, there you go, Wolfenstein. Now, for those of you Mac guys out there, Dungeon of Doom was a fantastic first player game. I love Dungeon of Doom. It's you can actually play it online on emulators now. It's fantastic. But yeah, they were all built around the same engine, and then later, after those came out, then things like Tomb Raider came out, which was just, well, even today's games, all those first-person games, it all started with Wolfenstein and Duke Nukem. I mean, pretty much.
Yep.
As far as I know. It all started, let's put it this way. It all started with Zelda, and then somebody decided to make it first person view. Because Zelda is another one that's we didn't mention, and but Zelda was again, Zelda. I guess no, Zelda was not an arcade game as far as I remember.
It was like a home game. See,
It was an Atari game. It was a Nintendo game.
Also, that I didn't see on the list, and that's Marble Madness. Why did I not see Marble Madness?
I don't know. Maybe because it's more recent. Because
no, it was 80's. It was
80's.
Yes.
I don't remember Marble Madness at all.
But I wonder if it was part of the PC home.
It might have been. It might have been part of either the PC. Or, I mean, there were. I remember when my brother first got a Sega Genesis, and oh my God, Sonic the Hedgehog was just. We were addicted to that game. My brother was an ace in that game. He could fly through that game. I don't know how he did it. Well, I know how he did it. He played hours and hours and hours of that game, but he would finish it. I mean, he would complete. He completed all of them, and never. But then that was already. I was already, driving and I mean, well, all these games. It was roughly when I was in college, but it was already, dating and moving on with
life.
With life, I guess. It's not like today. Today, look, I don't want to, and forgive me, folks, if I'm insulting any of you young kids. And when I say young kids, again, I state anybody under 45.
Two old guys in their 50s and 60s, reminiscing about
but
the 70s and 80s.
I see I see some friends of mine and others with their kids who are younger than my daughters and stuff that have an Xbox and have they either have an Xbox or this or that, and they're in there playing Fortnite with their kids, and some of them are actually taking the controls away from their kids or spending the entire night playing Fortnite. While I mean, I get it. I spent my 20s extremely addicted and pulling all-nighters just to play games online. The Sierra Network. It was a big role-playing game. But anyway,
Sierra Online.
I'll tell you. I was about to say they're more addicting now than they were before, but really, I don't think that's the case.
They're more immersive.
Yes, but I don't think they're more addicting as much as we see them more addicting. It's like, and I'm not going to bring politics into this, but I'll just mention this. Politics now is just as inflammatory or dangerous a topic as it was when we were young. It's just that now everybody's got a public voice and everybody voices their public voice. Same thing with video games. Video games, it's the try to say that first one time. It's the proliferation of the media and I'm not talking the media. I'm talking, sorry, I didn't mean to say the media. I meant to say social media and mass media because of, well, including me, all of us, because it's so easy to see what everybody else is doing as opposed to, it's just one geek in his house. Have a good one, Jim. We'll be shutting down in about 5. Hey, Michael, how's it going? Good to see you.
Yeah.
Because of the proliferation of...
Is that of nuclear weapons?
No, not quite. Of social media. And because we can see everything, basically, now, we can see what everybody's doing, and everybody wants to show off what they're doing. Because of that, it appears as if a lot more people are playing video games. It appeared. Yeah, I was looking at see, even looking at it, proliferation, and I thought it was FER, Michael, but you may be right. But anyway, regardless, it is. So I mean, we're talking arcade games here tonight, folks, and I mean the arcade games we grew up with. We only played them when we were at a pizza place, but it was a different time, you know. But we were always out at a pizza place once we could drive, you know, or an arcade. That was the place to be. And then later, when we all had our home games, you know, it's fantastic. We all have our home games. We play for a long time. I know I played for an incredibly long time. It's not good or bad. Everything in moderation, folks. I've got young kids that I know right now that will be up all night until 4 a.m. playing these online games. And Al, you probably played quite a number of them, even now.
There's old dudes too that stay.
There's old dudes too that do it and stuff. YouTube is my thing, so I'll be watching a bunch of YouTube videos and stuff like some of you. That's, you know, in the past it was TV. In the past it was we grew up with the TV generation, so there was always something to keep us entertained. Always something.
Well,
it's not good or bad.
It's just like with the pandemic. Actually, more people have played video games because they're all shut in and stuff. Now, in fact, people above 35 have actually played a lot more video games because they weren't able to go out and stuff. So
yeah,
you know, it's a substitution.
For me, if I've got something more important to do, whether I okay, listen to my statement. If I've got something more important to do, whether I do it or not, I will not play video games because I know I have something more important to do. That doesn't mean I'm going to get whatever I have to do done, but I will not use the excuse of a video game. That's a habit that I have, and I'm happy to have. But when I finish doing some heavy duty work of some sort or another, and I want to relax, yeah, I wouldn't mind playing a game or two and stuff. And when I have nothing to do, well, it's either YouTube or video games, and that's what comes up. But yep, folks. Alex, my cousin, was bringing up earlier Pong, and that was so we pretty much covered the whole gambit here, for all the way from Pong, and again, there are many more that we haven't mentioned because there were just so many games just during the 70s and 80s. We're not even talking about the ones that came out. I mean, no. It just escalates. So
yes,
going into the 90s and the 2000s, forget it. And now, I mean, my daughter's become an ace at all the Assassin's Creeds, and she loves that game. I will sit with my wife when, obviously, after our work day is done, when we want to relax, and being that it's family time, it's actually entertaining to watch. And I hate that I'm actually saying this because I'm almost embarrassed to say it, but I'm proud of it. I will sit on the couch with my wife, and both of us will watch my daughter play Assassin's Creed for an hour or 2 or 3 hours. I mean, it's fantastic watching, and this is like, it's a crazy video game, but it's yeah, it's entertaining.
People do it all the time,
and it's historic.
Twitch. People sit there and watch other people play video games. I mean, hundreds of people.
Oh yeah. That is. I almost want to say thank you, Captain Obvious, but you're absolutely right.
Yes.
Today's day and gauge, and yes, it is obvious to most people under 50, and most people over 50, unless you've been hiding under a rock,
Right.
yeah, it is. It is my daughter, my other daughter. Regardless, one of my daughters watches Markiplier is this guy, and he will play. I don't know because I pop in and out, so I really don't know the details. But he's entertaining. They find him incredibly hilarious and entertaining, and he's playing different games all the time.
Yep.
Sometimes it's the same game, sometimes it's different games, And I'm thinking, and I'm going, oh my God, what was I doing at that age? At that age, I was going out with my friends to their houses and playing Dungeons and Dragons. But guess what? And you're going to love this.
I love it already.
Just the night before last,
Did you play some
my daughter and 8 friends came over here for their usual, and I tried not to be a blithering idiot because obviously they don't want an old guy around.
They don't want an old guy around, yeah.
And so I tried to keep us far away, but I was hovering on the other side of the wall, listening to the whole campaign. I was having a blast. I was having. Look, why was I having a blast? Look, maybe there's a lot of people out there who go, D&D, that's ridiculous. They didn't grow up like I did. I was the exception. I was the geek. 41 years ago. 41 years ago, Al. Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes.
Now, it came out in 74. I was a little late to the game, 4 or 5 years late. But 41 years ago, I was playing, a little younger than them, playing Dungeons and Dragons. I made my first Jovanovic, my first magic user, and I played Greyhawk. Long story short, I had a blast playing games. But I started thinking back to those times, and I'm thinking, what do the young people do today? Are they playing games all day long? Well, they do that a lot, but so do we. They actually do the same thing we did, at least that I did, and I was so happy. I was so proud of that. I was really proud to see my daughter grow up as a geek like me. And it's not a geek these days. That's the difference. It's anime and D&D is a lot more. I won't say it's the norm, but it's a lot more in than it was in my day. But anyway, arcade games were pretty much our thing in the 70s and 80s.
They still are.
And they still are, but not like it was before. I mean, they're different. Now it's not like it is in a different way. It is in a more modernized way, but
very modernized, very much more. The technology.
It's as if to say phone calls for people who grew up in the 40s and 50s or whatever. It's as if to say phone calls were the thing. They still are, or they're not anymore. Now it's texting and everything, but they still were in our age the thing, because I would talk to, whether it's a girl or my buddies, I'd be on the phone all the time, when I didn't meet up with them before I could drive. But, and there were no party lines. You always got a busy signal. We remember the busy signal. They don't remember busy signals today.
And party lines?
Calls? Yeah. Well, no, not the part. Well,
what's that?
Yeah.
They probably don't even remember dropped calls, like you said.
Well, no, that's the thing. Now they remember dropped calls, because now the service goes out all the time. I'm in an elevator, boom, drop call. But anyway, I'll tell you, those were fantastic times that we lived through. I thought the other day, I wonder if I would prefer to live in today's days or when I did live, and it's a tough call.
Yes,
it's a tough call. It's a tough call because there's a lot going on today when you're a teenager, that you could take advantage of, and what's going to happen in the future is I'm very optimistic. On the other hand, we grew up during a golden age.
Yes.
A golden age. Then again, everybody says that.
They're all golden. Yes.
Our parents grew up in their golden age.
Yep.
The horse and buggy becoming cars. Well, maybe ours were a little younger than that, but still.
No, wait. It was the electric car becoming the horse and buggy, then becoming the car.
Yeah. That's the funny part. And now they're becoming electric cars.
Yes.
Full circle,
next
folks.
up the road, they'll be horse and buggies next.
Yep. Well, folks, have a wonderful it was funny. Michael King says, "I love dark anime," and I'll tell you, I was anime is another thing. Let me go off on a little segue again. What's old is new again. Not Robotech. Robotech was back in my day. They had Robotech in the 80's. Well, Robotech came out again, and my daughter was all into it and stuff. And I go, "My God, this is the same thing." Well, it's, newer, but it's like so funny. It's I mean, Saved by the Bell, and then Saved by the Bell is a little younger than us, but then they came out with Saved by the Bell's college. I don't know, whatever. But anyway, folks, thank you all for watching. I'm gonna cut it here. I hope you guys all get some time to drop by an arcade if you can find one and play an old game. Take some time. Remember, time is the one inventory item that we cannot make more of. So use it use it as best you can. Whether it's enjoying my show, enjoying some good wholesome entertainment, or going out and playing a game, take time to rest your mind, be more productive. Have a wonderful day, folks. Have a wonderful week. I may or may not be on next week, but if I am, see you again next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Live long and prosper.
Good night, folks.